Hello, and welcome to today's show, Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, international leadership expert and trusted advisor. Welcome to Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm so delighted that you joined me today. I have a very special guest on our episode for today. Her name is Desi Payne. Desi is a humorous, motivational speaker, trainer, and the stress-less coach. I love that. She loves to inspire leaders and their employees to adjust their attitudes so they will work in a positive environment. As a stress-less coach, she helps people let go of the stress that is robbing them of their joy so they can enjoy life. I just love that. I love the idea of it. Now, Desi instills joy and laughter into all of her programs. She is also a John Maxwell team member, traveling internationally to coach people to be better leaders. She also teaches Youth Max in schools, helping youth become great leaders. Today's topic is all about letting go, a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And I can't think of a better person, a better leader, a better human being to address this topic than Desi Payne. Now, I met Desi a few years ago. We're both part of the John Maxwell team, and I met Desi as part of a mentoring series for leaders. In fact, I met her because she had been selected from a pool of about 20,000 or so leaders. That's a lot of folks. She had been selected to be interviewed for the impact that she was making on the world. And when I met Desi and heard her speak about her passion, she was just on fire about it. So I can't wait to host my friend and fabulous colleague, Desi Payne. Now, before I bring Desi in, I want to just take a moment to connect the dots between today's topic, letting go, and legacy living. Now, there are many ways that letting go connects to legacy living, which you'll hear more about later in the show. For now, let me just say that legacy living is a way of being and a way of living in the world so that we make the conscious choice to be the difference we want to see in the world. We make the conscious choice now, not in some distant future. We make that choice day in and day out, 365, 24/7. Okay, again, I'll tell you more about that later. Let me bring in my friend and colleague, Desi Payne. Well, Desi, I want to welcome you to this podcast. I'm so grateful to have you as my very special guest today. And I would love to talk with you about what's happening with you right now. I know that we're both dreamers, and we're going to focus today on never giving up on your dreams. So I just, again, want to welcome you. And would you just tell us a little bit about you, Desi, and why never giving up on your dreams is important to you?
Sure. Well, thank you, Gloria, for having me. And I would probably have to say I am a big dreamer. In fact, sometimes my husband just shakes his head when I throw out one of the things or two of the things or a dozen things that I'm going to be planning on doing. And he just, again, shakes his head thinking, I just can't believe you. I think I've always been that way. Maybe because, on the disc chart, I'm a high D, but yeah, I am a big dreamer. I love achieving things and adventure and being creative. I think being creative is one of my favorite things to do. If you say, why don't you come up with something new with whatever it is, then, I'll just run with it. So Yeah, I love dreaming big dreams, and the thing is, through the course of my life, I've had to learn not to give up on those dreams because you know what we both face, and those are obstacles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Desi, would you tell us about? I know you're a writer, you're a speaker, and you have a fairly recent book out called Do You Work with the Living Dead? I love that title. So, can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Sure. Well, I started writing that actually a couple years ago because I started teaching workshops on attitude in the workplace. And one night I walked through my living room
Hmm.
and one of those zombie shows were on. And I don't get into zombies at all, but my husband and my daughter were watching one.
Hmm.
And I just kind of shook my head like, oh, I don't believe this. But then the more I thought about it, every time I walked through the room, it just reminded me of people that drag themselves through life and have negative, bad attitudes.
Mm.
And it was a springboard for even expanding on the workshop that I did. And so I wrote the book, and it's pretty much how to survive among lifeless and negative people in the workplace. But then what's interesting is not only do I give strategies on how to work with these what I call workplace zombies, the book is also about what to do if you get infected. And that's one of the things a lot of people will even approach me with after they've read the book. They say, I got this book because of these people I work with. But then they say this. They say, you know what, when I was reading the book, I came to the realization that I needed to look at myself.
Mm.
And I thought, wow, that was even, icing on the cake for me once it was done. But I guess when you go back to dreams, I would say probably, 25 years ago, if I were to walk into Barnes and Noble bookstore, I would say out loud to anyone that was with me, someday I'm going to have books in the Barnes and Noble bookstore.
Mm.
And I said that out loud to people for years and years and years and years. So it was actually especially a thrill for me last October when it was published. And I was in Cincinnati, and I was at the world's largest, it's the world's largest Barnes and Noble book signing. I think there were like 26 authors there, and I got
Wow.
to take part of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that was a huge win for me to have the book published and go through that process. And once you publish one book, you get the bug to write another. And so yes, I ended up writing book 2.
Well, good for you. And I know that in your notes, you talked about this book being a finalist, a top 10 finalist.
Yes, yes. So at the probably in the spring, I found out that my book was in a business category, to win an award. So it's in like the top 10 finalists to win an award with a publisher, which is huge if your book wins an award.
So tell us more about this because we all run into people who have negative attitudes. Sometimes, like you said, that's us. So why did you write this particular book?
I am from a family of very negative people.
Mm.
And holidays, when everybody's going to be coming over, it's almost like you put your guard up because conversations are going to turn maybe negative or critical.
Mm.
And so that was probably the main reason, secretly writing this book to give to all my different family members. But
Uh-huh.
but it expanded so that it would be able to help people in the workplace. And it's been awesome because after I've even taught the workshop or people have read the book, it's been so nice for people again to say, when I was reading this book, I saw this person and this person and this person. And so people were really able to relate with it. And the strategies I give, a lot of them are pretty practical. For example, a couple of them are, don't descend to another person's level or go to their grave, is what I call it, is because a negative person doesn't want to be the only one negative or griping or complaining. they want to drag other people into it. And
Mhm.
just like there's secondhand smoke, I believe there's secondhand negativity. And if you're around it,
Mhm.
you can be sucked into that. And
Mhm.
so it's really important to do different things if you work those kinds of people, or if you see those people in the grocery store, to distance yourself. But then if you can't distance yourself from those people, especially if you work with them, I give some different strategies, but the one I say is probably the most important is to infect them with your own positive attitude. Let you be the one that infects them versus them infecting you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And you talk about getting CPR. So what do you mean by that?
Yes. If you were to take your pulse right now, I would hope you'd have your pulse, but you know what? I think it's important that we take our attitude pulse. And if we find that we're among the ungrateful dead, or we're
Mm.
acting like any of these negative people, then we need CPR. And that CPR is, number one, C stands for choice. It's always your choice on how you're going to act. And it's interesting, when I wrote this book, I got this nickname, the Attitude Adjuster. And I was in the grocery store one time, and it was one of those days when the line for only one aisle, one checkout was open. And I was in a hurry, and the line was so long, and there was a part of me that just wanted to glare, or, act like, what is the problem here? And because I knew I had this nickname, the Attitude Adjuster, I thought, you never know who's watching you. And
Mm.
so I thought, you know what? I am going to be cool, calm, and collected. In fact, when I get up to the checkout gal, I'm just going to talk to her and ask her how her day's going. And, she went on to tell me that they had several people that called off sick. She had no control over that. And so it taught me a lesson that day, that you really do have the ability to take control in a situation where your attitude's concerned. So in CPR, C stands for choice and P stands for perspective.
Mm.
Um, it's so important to always have the right perspective. And, I've had the wonderful privilege about a year ago to speak with Nick Vujicic at an event in Texas, to 15,000 youth.
Mhm.
And every time I see Nick, I always think, I have so much to be grateful for. I mean, here's Nick Vujicic, a man without arms and legs.
Yes.
And and we lose perspective very easily when we get up in the morning not thinking how grateful we should be for every single thing that we have. And if you are grateful, if you have the right perspective, it's going to affect your attitude. And
Mhm.
then R in CPR stands for reboot your brain.
Mm.
And so, if, for example, if your computer is not acting right, or it's stuck, you get aggravated with it, and
Yes.
so you have to reboot it. So
Mhm.
you have to hit Control, Alt, and Delete. Well, that's what you have to do with your attitude. You have to reboot your brain. You have to control what you're thinking about, alternate those thoughts with good thoughts, and then that will delete those negative thoughts. So that's a part of rebooting your brain. And then another part of rebooting your brain is humor and laughter. Incorporating more humor and laughter into your life, because anytime you laugh, it really does reboot your brain, because your brain chemistry changes. So that's essentially CPR for your attitude.
Uh-huh. Well, I love that. And so someone gave you the name of the attitude adjuster?
Yeah, I was called the Attitude Adjuster, so I kind of just ran with that for a while, and so it's on my website. I'm the Attitude Adjuster,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, and then it keeps me in line.
That's so important, Desi. And I love the CPR approach. Could you go through the C and the P and the R again? Because I know that there are people out there taking notes. Okay.
Sure,
Can you
sure.
walk us through that again, please?
C stands for choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's always your choice on what kind of attitude you're going to have. I mean, you choose that attitude no matter what is happening around you. P stands for perspective. And a lot of that has to do with gratitude. And
Mm-hmm.
then R stands for reboot your brain. And I think there's two ways to reboot your brain. One is to control what you're thinking about in your thoughts. And the other way to reboot your brain is with laughter, because when you do laugh, it does change your attitude, let alone change the chemistry of your brain to make you feel better.
Yeah, so thank you. And I know, when I think about perspective, this little thought runs through my mind. When we change our perspective or how we look at things, then the things around us actually begin to change.
That's so true. That is
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So I hadn't planned on asking you this question. So if you don't want to answer it, just tell me. But I love how you talk about, rebooting your brain and using humor.
Right.
And you and I had, we talked a while ago in another interview, and you talked about your background as being a clown.
Sure. So actually, you know, that has a lot to do with the dreams in my life. After I graduated from college, I got a job at a hospital and I did not like it at all. I mean, it was very stressful, but I ended up staying in that job for a very long time. And then after that job, the door opened to another job, which is funny. I was the complaint department, but I actually loved that job, and it was always challenging. But had I left, had I left that job, I would not have had the opportunity for my life to change, because that door opened up to a whole new life for me. Because while I was working at the hospital, there was a professional clown. And when I would get complaints from patients, I would, call him up and say, I mean, he was on staff. I'd say, hey, I need you to go see this patient because they're really grumpy. And he would go in, do his magic, and it was amazing. Well, one night he was at a banquet where I was actually performing as the entertainer, and I was a mime. And I did my mime skit, and he came up to me. I mean, he made a beeline right up to me afterwards, and he asked me, who taught you how to do that? And I said, to do what? And he said, well, what you did on the stage. And I said, I don't know. I don't know, taught myself. I did it. And he said, have you ever thought about going to clown college? And I thought, oh my goodness, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And my husband hates clowns. That is crazy.
Oh no.
Well, he kind of kept at me, and finally one day he throws a brochure on my desk and he says, the University of Wisconsin is going to have a clown college experience up in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm about an hour and a half from there. And he said, why don't you go? And I thought, oh, I'll just go. I'm sure I can learn how to do a balloon animal for my Sunday school class. Well, little did I know, going to that clown college experience, which was for clown college, it changed my life. And to make a long story short, I went to clown school, and I was able to be trained by professional entertainers from around the world who understood the art of clowning, not just throwing on makeup and going out and being goofy, but actually the art of a clown. So I became a professional clown. And he actually wanted to mentor me to take his place at the hospital, which I ended up doing for 22 years, actually retired from the hospital from a professional clown last December. But, I saw cancer patients, kids. I worked in the emergency room, ICU. I worked all over that hospital as a professional clown. And then little did I know, doors were going to open. I ended up being a guest performer with Ringling Brothers. I worked on Royal Caribbean cruise lines, and I was in high demand for schools to come and teach kids about character, anti-bullying. And so, I worked literally full time, a lot of times 5 and 6 days a week in clown makeup. And I did that. I mean, it was a very, very rewarding occupation. And with all that said, I learned the power of laughter. I learned the power of humor and what it does to a person when you make somebody else smile and make somebody else laugh. So my background has a lot to do with helping people laugh and smile. And so thankfully that has come into my speaking world and my career. And that has actually helped me a great deal on being very busy as a speaker. So,
You just never know, right?
You never know. And you know what? It's interesting. One morning I was watching Good Morning America and Jay Leno was on, and it was one of those feel good shows where he was giving away one of his mini cars to a veteran. You know, you had the tears in your eyes, but he said something that caught my attention. And he said this. He said, "If I have not gone through a day without making somebody smile or laugh, I
Mm-hmm.
have not done my job."
Mm.
And I thought, what a great philosophy to adopt
Yes.
into your own life. I
Yes.
mean, to be intentional about every day helping somebody else smile or laugh. And I tell you, if you have that philosophy, it will change your attitude about life. It will change your attitude in a day if that is your goal, to help other people smile
Yes.
and laugh.
Yes. I love that. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And you talked earlier about sharing the stage with Nick Vujicic. And could you say a little bit more about that? And, I know that your big theme again is to never give up on your dreams. So if you could tell us about Nick and maybe give us a few more examples of that as well.
Sure. Well, so I told you that my husband, he couldn't stand clowns, and here I'm going to become a professional clown. Well, he did eventually like one, and that was me. But I'll never forget the night that I told him, you know what, I'm going to join the John Maxwell team. I'm going to become a motivational speaker. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh my goodness, I can't stand motivational speakers."
No.
And I just was thrown for a loop, and I thought, oh my goodness. But in one respect, I thought, you didn't like clowns, but you did end up liking me. I'm
Mm.
going to have to prove myself to you. And then when I started weaning out of that profession and in town, was talking to different business people about becoming a motivational speaker, it was interesting that I actually had business people that said, "You will never make it in this town as a motivational speaker." And
Mm.
I was like, "Oh my," I mean, really, it was kind of heartbreaking. And they said, "Because you're known as this professional clown in town." And so that was kind of in the back of my head for a long time. Thankfully now I'm also well known as a speaker and been hired many, many times in this town.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in the back of my mind. Well, when I became a John Maxwell team member, as you know, when you go to Orlando and you go through the 3-day certification,
Yes.
um, that first day, you see like 10 different Maxwell team members go up on the stage and they get to do their 3-minute speech. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's a wow thing.
Yeah. It's
And
amazing.
I remember thinking, "Oh, well, when I come back in 6 months, when they do this again, I want to get up there. I want to get on the stage."
Mm-hmm.
So that was my dream. Well, I didn't realize that it was going to be a grueling process to go through the interview process with, we both know Roddy Galbraith,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to submit your videos, and he wants the highest quality in speeches. If you want to share the stage of John Maxwell, it's got to be good. And I remember speech after speech after speech that I submitted, and he would just say, "You know what, you need to go back and do this again." And I was like, ah. But finally, I remember the day when he said, "I think this is going to be great." And so I made it through the stage one of, or round one is probably what I should say. And then, so if you make it through round one, when you get to Orlando, you audition in front of other people. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking into that room, and my plane was late. So I actually got in on the last 10 minutes of being able to get into that room. And I rushed in the room and I sat down, and he walked over to me, within seconds, and he handed me that microphone. And I was like, uh-oh, it's my turn. And I went up there and I froze,
Mm.
literally froze. And he was kind enough to, ask me if I wanted to start over. Or no, I asked him if I could start over, and he said yes. And I froze again. I just stared at everybody like a deer in headlights. And, everybody was so gracious. "Hey, we love you. You can do
Yeah.
this." And, I look back, and the third time around, I don't know what I said, but I remember going back to my seat, wanting to hide underneath the table at the stand. Of course, didn't make it to this big old stage time. But I thought, 6 months later, when I come back, I'll do it again. And went through the whole grueling process of submitting video after video after video. And then, I made it through the process. And so when I got there again, I felt more confident. But when I got up on the stage about halfway through, I noticed that my legs were shaking so bad that it tripped me up. And I just stared out at everybody again because I totally couldn't remember what I had just said. I mean, it freaked me out. And I remember walking out and thinking, this is not for me. I'll never do this again. I'll never come back again. And I went up, called my family, and I was just devastated. And as an entertainer, I've been in front of thousands of people, been on stages, and for me to not be able to say a 3-minute speech was so tough. And so a couple months later, I am actually speaking at a college to new college students, and I'm speaking to them ironically about their dreams in their life and how they should never give up on their dreams. And literally while I am speaking to them, I'm having this conversation in my brain, and I'm saying to myself, how can you talk to these kids about never giving up on a dream when you gave up on your own dream? You're a hypocrite. And I'm talking to these kids and thinking all these things. And while I'm talking to them, I ended up talking to myself and saying, you're not going to give up on your dream. You're going to get back up on that stage.
Oh, good for you.
And I remember when I went through the process again, submitting video after video, and finally, one was accepted. I remember putting my head on my desk and literally making the decision, are you going to go for it or not? And I decided I was going to, I was so determined. I was like Rocky. Nothing was going to stop me.
Yes.
And when I got on the plane to fly to Orlando, it was an 1.5-hour flight, and I shut my eyes and I said that 3-minute speech every 3 minutes until I got to Orlando. And then when I got to the hotel and I got settled, I went into the halls of the Marriott down in the conference center, and I looked for people and I asked them, can I do my speech for you? And you know what? I didn't want to. In fact, I had stayed with my sister and I did it for her. And she says to me, well, when you do it, you might have a little bit more enthusiasm. I thought, this is not a good start. And so I found some people and I did it, and I messed up just a little bit, but I thought I did it. And so I ended up probably went around to about 10 different people and I said, can I do my speech for you? I was so determined. And then on the day, you know what it's like on that day, you don't know if your name's going to be called or not. And they called 10 people up. So I sat there and I wrote out my speech all day long. And you know what? When Ronnie got up there and announced the 10th person, guess what? My name wasn't called. And my heart sunk. But you know what? A couple minutes later, he said, you know what? I have somebody else that I want to come up on the stage. And he announced my name.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the very back, and I just was like, I just was like, wow. And all the way up to the stage, I was saying my speech.
I love that.
So it's, thank goodness it's recorded, because anybody can go to my YouTube channel and they can watch me do the speech that I did, because my speech was about messing up the first 2 times. And so that was a huge dream for me, and because I didn't give up, you have no idea the amount of confidence that was built on the inside of me for doing that and speaking in front of 3,000 people.
Yes.
So yeah, it was huge to be able to do that, and so it prepared me for 6 months later when I was going to be speaking before Nick Vujicic. in an arena to 15,000 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I truly believe what you're doing today is always preparing you for what you're going to do tomorrow. And so
Absolutely.
don't give up on your dreams, no matter how small or how big they are.
I love that. I was just writing as you were talking, like not once, not twice, but three times, and
Yeah.
self-talk and just getting up there and having the courage, present yourself again and again and again. And I do know what that process is like, so I'm reliving it with you. So congratulations. I love the image of Rocky because at the end, I'm just imagining your hand just up in that, big V that he does, right?
Well, well, what's funny is after the speech, I did jump up and down. So, and then Roddy says, finally.
Oh,
So yeah, you'll have to go on YouTube and watch my John Maxwell stage speech.
well, congratulations. I know that story is such a powerful story because so many times we have a dream and a lot of us don't get started, right? But
Right.
those who do, it's not like an overnight instant thing. You have to really, really work
Yeah.
hard and stay in there and, stay committed. So congratulations, Desi.
Well,
That's
thank you. And from the first time that I went until I finally did it, I think it was a total of 4 years.
oh my, wow.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. But as you said, that was equipping you, unbeknownst to you at the time, but that was
Right.
equipping you for an even bigger audience and bigger platform. And, how cool is it to talk to 15,000 kids with Nick Voyaging, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's just astounding. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So tell me, I know that you have done so many very cool things in your career as an entertainer, as a speaker, as a clown. And how has this pandemic shaped or influenced or impacted your career?
Well, it's actually impacted it in a huge way because my last speaking event was March 6th.
Hmm.
And in March and April through the summer, I had a record number of speaking events. I mean, I was blown away by how many I was booked. And
Hmm.
it was like overnight. I mean, it seemed like overnight
Hmm.
they were all canceled.
Hmm.
And I started getting the calls, getting the emails to the point where literally everything was canceled. And until I think this week will be my first speaking event that I will be live, which I'm so excited. They have no idea the amount of energy that I'm going to be bringing to them.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, and so, it gave me a huge perspective because of the way I'm paid through my corporation. I was not able to get even unemployment. And so it gave me a different perspective on what happens when you have no money coming in.
Mm.
And my husband and I also own a business in our local mall. And for 2 months, the mall was closed, but we still had to pay a huge rent, internet,
Mhm.
insurance, and all that. And
Mm.
and there was a couple times I literally got in my car to take it to the car dealership and say, I have to give my car back. And so I have a new perspective on being on the side of having really serious financial needs,
Mhm.
and how you're going to adapt and deal with that. And so a couple of the things that I did, because I hate to waste time, and especially since I wasn't working, I spent a lot of time. My YouTube channel was Stress Busters, so I did a lot of those. And then I wrote my second book, which is ironically about stress. So it's called Give Me Some Chocolate, I'm Stressed.
Mm. I love that
And
title.
it's from a faith perspective. So it's faith-filled strategies on how to refuel, recharge, and reduce stress. So it'll be published in January. But I also had an opportunity because I needed to work. My mother, bless her heart, I had the opportunity to help her fulfill one of her dreams. And at 79 years old, my mother decides to open a restaurant during COVID.
Mm. Mm.
So I just decided I was going to go all in and help her and get this going. And
Mhm.
it opened and it's going well. And And now with speaking of events that are going to be starting actually this week, I'll be weaning myself out of that. But I've been able to spend time with my mom, be a blessing to her. So yeah, it's been a very interesting year for all of us.
Yes, ma'am, indeed. And it sounds like you are learning a lot. And I'm just praying for you that you will have those speaking engagements that were canceled earlier, just, that your calendar just continues to fill for the rest of this year and beyond, Desi.
Thank you.
And so I just want to thank you again for joining us today. Desi, you are positively amazing. I love just the breadth of your background. I love your passion. I love that you're a woman of faith. And just thank you so much for never, never giving up on your dreams.
Thank you so much, Gloria.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So inspiring. Clearly, Desi is an amazing leader. She makes a difference in her own life and in the lives of so many others in her family, her community, and throughout the world in her work as the Stress Less Coach. To learn more about Desi's work, you can go to her website, and that's www.desipayne, and that's DESI PAYNE, www.desipayne.com. Okay? Again, I'm going to spell it for you because I know we have listeners all over the world, and I want you to be sure to get this. It's www.desipayne, DESIPAYNE.com. You can also check out Desi's books. And I love these titles. Do You Work for the Living Dead? Right? And another title is Give Me Some Chocolate. I'm stressed. Now be sure to connect with Desi directly as well. You can do that by going to her YouTube channel, which is called Stress Busters. Very, very cool. Okay, if you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Gloria, and this is Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. We just heard from my very special guest, Desi Payne, motivational humorist speaker, trainer, leader, author, and fabulous John Maxwell team member. If you want to make your life count, if you want to be the change you seek, be sure to listen to this show again and again. And hey, be sure to tell somebody, right? Tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, all right? You can find me right here on iTunes, Audible, Alexa, SoundCloud, iHeart, TuneIn, Spreaker.com, Talk Network Radio, and so many other places. Be sure to tune in again next time. Now, before I close, I just want to give a shout out to all the women, men, and our young people all around the world. Because you know what? We are the ones. We are the ones we have been waiting for. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. Don't wait. Do not wait for somebody else to step up to make things happen in your life. Because you know what? They might not step up. In fact, they might not even know you're waiting for them, right? To do something. But you can be the one. Can I just tell you something? You are the one. You are that person in charge of you. You are the one who can make a difference in your own life so that you can model and make a difference in the lives of people in your life. Your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad, your auntie, your uncle, your teacher, your boss. You are the one. You know something? It is truly amazing how much impact we have as leaders in the workplace, in our communities, and in our own family, especially in our family. That's where it all begins, right? Leading begins exactly where you are, with you, your spouse, with your own children, right in your own kitchen, around the dinner table, helping out with homework, when you go to church, or when you go out shopping. So moms and dads, even when you think that your son or your daughter isn't paying any attention at all, let me tell you something. They are. They are listening. They're soaking it in. And more than anything else, they are watching you. Because you know what? More than anything else we can do, we can demonstrate our leadership, right? And leadership is caught, not taught. That's right. Leadership is caught, not taught. Now, let me be really clear. Your children are scoping you out. They observe everything you are and everything you say and everything you do. Most importantly, know that they are watching you to see if what you say and what you do match up. Now, our actions really do speak much, much louder than our words. A good friend of mine, who's a former CEO, always says, as a parent or as a leader in any context, your walk has got to talk louder than your talk talks. Let me repeat that. She says, your walk has got to talk louder than your talk talks. Why is that? Because that's how we build the bridge called trust. That's how we strengthen our bond with those we love. That's how we deepen our relationships one step at a time, inch by inch, mile by mile, and smile by smile, at home, at work, and in any area of our life, every single day, 365, 24/7. So, how is your walk lining up with your talk? You know what? It is never too late to get your walk and your talk synced up, to get your act together, so to speak, right? So you can take it on the road. So don't beat yourself up if you kind of had a misstep here and there, right, with your walk and your talk. Okay? It's never too late to get it together and put it on the road so that you can make the difference in someone else's life that only you can make. Remember this, how you live is how you lead. Now, if you happen to miss any part of this week's episode or last week's, you can simply download the recording and listen to it at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. Again, check us out on iTunes, Audible, Alexa, SoundCloud, iHeart, TuneIn, Spreaker.com, Talk Network Radio, and so many other places. You can also listen right here at www.talknetworkradio.com/hosts/legacy living. That's talknetworkradio.com/hosts/legacy living. Now you can find me and learn more about my work and Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count, by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. And, as I've mentioned before, if you love to be inspired, you can actually subscribe to my inspirations right on my website. Just scroll down a little bit, look on the right sidebar until you see the place to add your email address to subscribe to my weekly inspirations. It's that simple. Each week, you get a lovely photograph and a short quotation that inspires you. Or visit me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. At Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/DR for Dr. Gloria Burgess, PhD. That's facebook.com/DR Gloria Burgess, PhD. You can also find me on the TEDx site and listen to one of my TED Talks. Just type in my name to find me there. All right. Now, once again, before I close, I just want to thank each of you for tuning in, for allowing me to share a bit about my journey with what legacy living is all about. Not just living and learning, but living and learning and serving so that you make a difference in your own life and in the lives of people wherever you go. It's about being on purpose every single day, 365, 24/7. Legacy living is a powerful way to make your life count. Once again, thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, and this is Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Join me again next time right here for another episode of Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Have a fantastic day, and remember, make the days in your life count. God bless you. That's our show today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess. I hope you'll join me again next time. Until then, don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Here's to you. Have a fantastic day, and be sure to make it a yes kind of day. Remember to celebrate the music of your life. Make the days in your life count.